Avis Glaze says, "There can be no throwaway children. We need them all to become participating and contributing members of our society." Dr. Glaze is one of Canada's most powerful and well-respected educators, recognized in her field internationally, working with educators in over 50 countries. Dr. Glaze has received several honorary doctorates and some 40 awards for international contributions, including the Robert Owen Award in Scotland. She is currently the president of EduQuest International, an organization offering a wide range of educational services and speaking engagements across the globe. Truly the student's educator, she has gone from classroom teacher to superintendent of schools and director of education. Born in rural Jamaica, she rose to become a commissioner on Ontario's Royal Commission on Learning, and as the province's first Chief Student Achievement Officer and founding CEO of the Literacy and Numeracy Secretariat, served as Ontario's Education Commissioner and Senior Advisor to the Minister of Education. A highlight of her career was an invitation from Queen Sonja of Norway to address principals on the issue of "Can schools build better societies?" Today, she gives counsel to dozens of organizations and governments such as South Africa, New Zealand, and Scotland. She has great admiration for Ms. Bogle, her high school teacher, Martin Luther King, and Nelson Mandela. Here's the thing you may not know. She is terribly afraid of flying. Remarkable for someone who has worked in 22 countries and over 30 U.S. states, all for the noble cause of education. Tonight, we honor Dr. Avis Glaze with the Vice Chancellor's Award.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, success for all students, what does it take? Countries all across the globe are improving student achievement, and they're doing this with a sense of urgency. What, therefore, does this take? I'm delighted to quote one of my favorite writers, Robert Whitman. This is what he had to say. But communities that succeeded socially and economically did not become simple.
I was told that this would be controlled. Okay, now. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Communities that succeeded socially and economically did not become civil because they were rich, but rather became rich because they were civil. That is very, very important to me because I care so deeply about this country. And I want Canada to continue to be one of the best places in the world in which to live. Michael Fullan, many of you know Michael Fullan. He's one of the gurus in education. And a few years ago, he said that we should have 90 to 95% success. Recently, I spoke with Michael, and he has now changed and has raised the bar. What he has said is that the new mission of schools is to achieve 100% success and to have specific explanations for any shortfall in that aspiration. Educators would see this as a challenge, but those of us who have worked in education for many years know that this can be done and that it must be done. I would not want to have a child if it was only 90 to 95% success. What would happen indeed for the 10% or so that are not succeeding? So I like the fact that we have raised the bar and we are now expecting 100% success. Let me first state a few of my personal beliefs. And this is after some 40 years of work in education. I still believe, as I did as a first-year teacher, in these facts. All children can learn and achieve, given time and proper supports. Instruction itself has the largest influence on student achievement, and school leadership is second only to instruction. So with these beliefs then, I really do believe that we can achieve 100% success in education. What does it take? I could have listed a number of factors. I will only focus on about 7 of them. The first one is high expectations for learning and achievement and a growth mindset. And let me say that a growth mindset simply says that intelligence is not fixed. It can be changed with hard work, with determination, with proper teaching. We can, in fact, have students improve significantly. But it requires high expectations. And I'd like to tell you a story, although things have changed dramatically over the years. But when I was a school superintendent in Ontario, many years ago, I remember going to a school and there was this recent immigrant child who had come from a country where she had not gone to school. So there were many gaps in her learning. And I looked at the work of all the kids, excellent work, but when I looked at this little girl's writing, it was very, very weak. And I asked the teacher, how is this child doing? And the response at the time was, that's good enough for her. You can well imagine my heart sank. Teachers today would not give that response. But at that time, I was disappointed because I said, it is not good enough for her. We must provide the interventions to make sure that she can write as well as the others. And indeed, our teachers today are doing that. So those high expectations for learning are very, very important if we are to achieve success. We must have effective instruction. With all that's happening in reform across the globe, people are doing a number of things. If only they were to focus on instruction and leadership, I think we can achieve just about any achievements in education. So instruction and in a digital age, the whole issue of computers is very important, and technology in general. I remember many, many years ago that even to use the computer was a major challenge. And I went to Finland, in fact, and saw the schools were opened late into the night. Parents and students could go into the school and use the computers. It meant, therefore, that we do not have to have, as one person said years ago, we talked about the haves and the have-nots. In the digital age, we will talk about the knows and the know-nots. If we do not make sure that all our children, especially those who live in poor economic circumstances, have access to technology. If we would simply open up our schools, and many districts are doing that, but they all need to do that, to make sure that children and their parents who do not have the technology at home have access to using the computers in our school. But it is about effective instruction. The role of the teacher here is key. Early and ongoing assessment, interventions, and support. I remember visiting a school as well as a young superintendent, and there was a little girl in grade 1. She was showing us, this is what I learned in September, and this is where I am now, and look at what I'm able to do today. Using assessment data to tell what students know, what they can do, but more importantly, where they need to go next. That's very important. The importance of interventions always is key. How are we helping the students who are not achieving? Because they will not all achieve on the same day and at the same rate. But when the schools intervene early, making sure they have supports, peer tutoring, in-class supports, a number of other reading programs to help those who are not achieving. It can be done. That support is very important. The fourth response to what does it take inclusive, culturally responsive teaching. That's very important given the diversity that we have in Ontario and indeed Canada. One of the trends from Gary Marx's 21 Trends, which are very current, says that minorities are becoming majorities. Many people will find this frightening, but that's what's happening across the globe. If that is the case, how are we making sure that our children from minority backgrounds are able to do well? Many are, but still, I think the main issue very often is poverty and how that limits students' background and experiences. One of the famous speakers, R.W. Connell, said, and I hope tongue-in-cheek, statistically speaking, the best advice I would give to a poor child eager to get ahead in education is to choose richer parents. Ladies and gentlemen, we must prove Connell wrong. Inclusive, culturally responsive pedagogy, where we take into consideration children's backgrounds, not as a limitation, but as an asset, and incorporate that in all that we do within the classroom. What does it take? Leaders as co-learners. And I use the term co-learners advisedly. As a school principal, as a teacher, because teachers are leaders, we must make sure that we are all learning together. When a principal learns with his or her teachers, he or she better understands what's needed. He or she is better able to see things from the teacher's perspectives. And indeed, I remember, again, when I was a young superintendent, I had bought a computer. It was in a box for about 3 months. I think I was afraid of it. One day I was visiting schools and I saw a kindergarten child on the computer, and I went home and I thought, I better learn, because the next time I'm in a school, that kindergarten child may ask me something that I cannot respond to. What did I do? That day, I remember there was a high school student who lived on my street. I stopped at his home. I asked his parents, can you come and help me learn how to use the computer? As a superintendent, I was taught to learn to use the computer by a high school student. We became co-learners. Number 6, innovation, creativity, entrepreneurship, and career development. These are all important. Our children will have to create jobs that no longer exist. We know the relationship between entrepreneurship and prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, we must make sure that innovation and creativity are very, very important in our school districts. And finally, career development, or character development, I should say. I believe that it is important not only to educate minds, but to educate hearts as well. We do know, as one person said, to educate a person in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. We do know that qualities like respect, responsibility, honesty, integrity are very, very important. And for us to have education at its best, we must focus on educating minds, but also creating the kinds of qualities you want to see in your neighbors, the kinds of qualities that make our countries great. Empathy. Empathy can be taught, and think of what it would mean through a character development program to make sure that our children learn these qualities. Sandy MacDonald, as I wind up, I'm getting the indication. Sandy MacDonald was in charge of McDonnell Douglas. I knew him well. He passed away only recently. He was a business person who gave up his job and devoted his time to character development in St. Louis School. And this is what he said. I'm only mentioning for emphasis because I know you can read. We in the business world, we don't want young people coming into employment who are brilliant but dishonest. They have high intellectual knowledge but don't care about people. They have highly creative minds but are irresponsible. All of us in business and the larger community want to build young people of character. This is very important. So therefore, let us continue to educate both hearts and minds. This is the golden age of education. We have never known as much as we know now. We have the research that tells us what works. But there must be a sense of urgency. The children cannot wait. If we want Canada to continue to be one of the best places in the world in which to live, we must educate both hearts and minds. What a privilege it is to be an educator today. Thank you very much.